The walls of the huge mansion reflected my screams with a hollow echo. "Wait, Zach, you've got it all wrong!" I shouted after my boyfriend, but he didn't seem to hear. He was rapidly walking away down the corridor until he disappeared. Around the next turn, finding him in these labyrinths would be simply impossible. And how do the rich people live in such houses at all? After a few minutes, I was already looking, not for Zach, but for a way out. Galleries, swimming pools, even a home terrarium. There was everything in this huge mansion. From a huge safe filled with gold bars to the office of a personal doctor. But there was still no way out. On the horizon, I wandered around the mansion for quite a long time and already started to panic. Suddenly, I found myself inside of one of Zach's mansion's Gothic towers, which stood out dramatically against the background of the other residences in the area. The tower had only one room, but what a chamber it was. When I walked in, it seemed like I was in a fairy tale when I entered my room in this magnificent castle. This issue has caused me to have an internal dilemma. I understood everything. I sat down on the floor and cried bitterly. This was my room. Zach had planned a wonderful surprise for me, but I destroyed everything. I was prepared to sit in this magnificent place for the rest of my life without seeing the sun. If only Zach could understand. Are you grabbing for your handkerchiefs already? However, you should not trust my tears and should sympathize with me. In particular, friends, I don't always understand where my true emotions lie and where I pretend to achieve what I want. Believe me, after reading my narrative, you'll want Zach to dump me. My name is Michelle, and I'm dead intent on stealing my closest friend's millions. Zach was, without a doubt, my dearest friend and the most wonderful person on the planet. Our meeting is a true stroke of luck. Unlike Zach, I didn't live in a fancy mansion with my family, but in an old trailer with my family, where we didn't have basic amenities like a shower or a toilet. The day Zach and I met, I ran away from home to an amusement park. I didn't have any money, but I had a lot of guts and dexterity, and acting was my biggest trump card. I sneaked into the park and pretended to have left my money at home at every attraction. Every vendor was delightful, and I was so delighted that some people offered to pay for me. But I didn't stay long. When Zach arrived, the guard had gotten me through swiftly and was ready to phone my parents. "Wait, let's avoid any scandals." "Mister, aren't you too young to pay for her ticket? What happened to your parents?" The guard chuckled. "Here's my dad." Zach nodded at the wall that had a picture of the owner of the amusement park on it. Zach's very convincing. Bodyguards joined the conversation and the conflict was settled. That's how we met. He just bought me a season ticket for all the rides. "You're a sly fox. You even have red hair." Zach smiled. "Thank you for your help, but I have nothing to give you in return," I replied. "It's okay. I don't need anything from you. Just let's be friends." "You probably won't be allowed to be friends with a girl like me." But Zach stood his ground. That's how we started communicating. And a couple of years later, we were inseparable friends. It was the best time, but everything changed when we became teenagers. Zach wasn't shy about me and took me to all the parties. Do you think it's cool to hang out with the Gilded Youth? I didn't take money from Zach since I didn't have any, and I've never had more than $10 in my pocket. They were simply too much for me to bear. Expensive presents would no longer appear to be a donation to the impoverished if he were my lover. But regrettably, as a guy and a girl, we weren't a good match. As a result, I remained his penniless pal at parties. I was regularly met with disdainful looks from children from wealthy backgrounds. My friends only added to the blaze. "I don't understand you, especially Rosie." "Zach is a really nice guy. Consider the benefits he could bestow on you. You live like a true celebrity, the girlfriend of a millionaire." Rosie started that ridiculous conversation all over again. "We're only buddies, though." I ignored it, despite the fact that I recognized some truth in Rosie's statements. "But he doesn't love me." These words were painful to say. "He's a guy. Make it dead set at him. You know how, if I were in your place, I wouldn't miss my chance." Rosie's words really hurt me. First of all, this is my best friend, and secondly, how can I do that to him? But I myself did not notice how I had already stepped on thin ice. The idea of becoming Zach's girlfriend had already crept into my head. After talking to Rosie, I began to notice every now and then how luxurious some girls love shopping, expensive restaurants, fancy cars. In summer, they rest on tropical islands, and I'm digging in our little vegetable garden near the trailer to feed my family. Thoughts of my hopeless poverty that sometimes brought me to tears. I didn't want to live like this for the rest of my life, but I couldn't take money from Zach either. Yes, if he had become my boyfriend, then everything could have been different. Another blow was that my family had to sell the trailer. There were several financial shortages. We moved into a homemade shanty that made our old trailer seem like a 5-star hotel. Life became miserable. Therefore, I made the decision to end it. It happened at a different gathering. I envied the girls because they were well-groomed, gorgeous, elegantly dressed, while I looked even worse than their shadow. They were continuously hitting on Zach, who was grateful for their attention. And suddenly Rosie's idea of making a dead set at Zach didn't seem so strange. So what exactly is the big deal? I'm sure he's secretly in love with me as well, and I have sentiments for him. I simply refused to admit it. I was confident that the strategy was ideal and that it would benefit both of us. And for me, personally, the huge fortune of my best friend was the biggest of these advantages. Millions that will soon be mine. Do you remember the acting skills that helped me get everything that I want since I was a child? Their time has come right in the middle of the party. I pretended that I felt really bad. I staggered, holding my head, and as soon as Zach ran up to me, I fell right into his arms. "What's the matter with you? Are you sick?" My friend was really scared. "It's okay, Zach. It's okay." I smiled weakly. No, let me take you to your room," he said in front of everyone. Zach picked me up in his arms and carried me to the stairs. I literally felt the envious glances of the girls on my skin. When we were in the bedroom, Zach put me on the bed, carefully covering me with a blanket. I grabbed his hand. "You're going to stay with me, aren't you?" I looked as helpless as possible. "Of course, Michelle." Oh, it was a great evening. Zach and I were alone chatting about everything in the world. At school, he became more and more interested in whether everything was all right with me, and I in turn have completely played this dangerous game. One day, I suddenly burst into tears. When Zach was around, the rest of the guys who happened to be nearby were shocked. Of course, Zach immediately jumped up to me. "Michelle, what's wrong with you? What happened?" He took my hand and my heart stopped. "Nothing." Zach doesn't pay attention. It's just that I couldn't contain my emotions. You won't believe it, but real tears poured out of my eyes. Why don't I have an Oscar yet? Zach took me aside and tried to calm me down. He stroked my hair and suddenly kissed me on the cheek. "It's so good that I have you." I clasped to Zach's heart. He tensed up and didn't say anything, but I could hear his heart pounding wildly. Oh, how I hate myself now. And the further this game went, the worse it got. Zach decided that dinner at a restaurant would definitely cheer me up. This time, I didn't resist. And here in the chic restaurant, I finally freaked out. In my whole life, I'd never been to a place of this level. The terribly expensive and incredibly tasty food made me cry. I finally decided that Zach would be my boyfriend no matter what it cost me. We began to communicate even closer and more often. Although Zach's friends weren't happy about it. One of the gals I'd see at Zach's gatherings on a regular basis, in the school hallway, Rachel, once blocked my path. "Do you think your deception will work?" she inquired, her gaze fixed on mine. "I'm not sure what you're referring to." I had no choice but to respond with the most innocent of responses. "Look, Zach's games, isn't it pitiful and cruel?" "Do I adore him?" I asserted myself. Who are you deceiving? Rachel, she was losing her cool. Zach arrived right next to us.
Girls, what exactly is going on here?
She's threatening me, isn't she? The first thing that sprang to me was what I said. Rachel exclaimed angrily. What? I didn't lay a finger on you. I better leave. I'm not going to annoy you. As though by a wave of a magic hand, my eyes welled up with tears once more. It worked perfectly. Rachel received a venomous glare from Zach.
Don't annoy her with your presence. Is that clear?
Zach, come to your senses. She's lying to you. Rachel seemed ready to cry.
Michelle would never do that to me. I trust her more than anyone.
And here, my heart treacherously trembled. What kind of person am I succumbing to a rush of emotions? I grabbed my friend's hand. I had to confess before things went too far. Zach.
It's okay, Michelle.
He smiled at me so warmly that there was no trace of my impulse to tell everything as it is. I love you. I said it before I had time to think. Zach was confused, froze, and looked at me for a long time without saying a word. He turned around and left. I've been waiting for at least some action from him for several days. I couldn't find a place for myself. Did he really understand everything? Was it possible that one of the well-wishers could reach him after all? Oh no, losing Zach is the worst thing that can happen to me. But it wasn't so tragic. Zach texted me a couple days later and invited me on a date. I almost dropped my smartphone from my hands when I read the invitation message. Of course I agreed. That evening, I was at the dock where Zach was waiting for me on the board of his yacht. He arranged a romantic dinner and confessed his feelings.
Thank you for your support.
When my friend confessed to me again, for a little moment, he became madly in love with me. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to confess everything all over again. Listen, Zach.
I'll give you everything. Nothing will be required of my girlfriend. You will receive whatever you desire.
Zach's eyes twinkled with affection as he stared at me. Really? You must not do so. I don't love you for the money. The words came out of nowhere. I was once again lost in my dreams, picturing what a wonderful life awaited me. And as I had hoped, these dreams came true quickly. First and foremost, my family purchased a lovely home. I spent days driving around the stores, buying everything that caught my attention. Then Zach decided I should start traveling right away. I became the most popular girl in school, but Rachel, as it turned out, was not in the least bit interested. She and Zach had known each other not so long ago, but she managed to fall in love with him. But sincerely, for real, not like me. She tried to bring my deception to the surface many times, but naturally Zach believed only me, his best friend and beloved girlfriend. You can't get away with it. One day, he'll figure it out for himself, Rachel once said with tears. But I really love him. I stood my ground, although I'm not so confident anymore. You only love his money. But there is nothing that will keep this secret that would not come to light. And so it turned out I had a really good time with Zach. But I didn't love him as much as he loved me, and it could not be hidden. Soon, Zach brought me to the mansion to announce our relationship to his parents. They were familiar with me. Naturally, they were dissatisfied. I was a cruel mongrel, a beggar. They, on the other hand, appreciated their son's decision and welcomed me into their family as a full member. Zach continued telling me how much he loved me, but I didn't feel the same way, and I couldn't speak those things coming back to him. That day, I had no idea what happened to me. Perhaps my conscience was awakened, but I have admitted everything. There was no ruckus. Zach didn't chastise me or accuse me of deception. He had just walked away. So here we are, back at the start of my journey. Zach discovered me in the same room where I was sobbing over my own folly. I attempted to explain everything to him, but he simply told me to get out of there. But Zach is a very kind guy who erased me from his life. He still helps me sometimes, and we do continue to communicate. That's how, because of my greed, I was left without a boyfriend and a best friend. But Zach finally paid attention to Rachel, and now they are doing well, which I am very happy about. Would you cheat for money? Write your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button under the video and share it with your friends.